Hello, I'm MBX and welcome back to episode 275 of my Minecraft Xbox Update Adventures Let's Play. This is the Let's Play where I've been playing through the various updates that have come out for Minecraft on the console, building stuff, killing stuff, and of course, destroying stuff. And in today's episode, it's 2017, it's a brand new year, guys. Trust me, look at your calendars. It's different, isn't that crazy? And yeah, honestly, you know the New Year thing, like, I'm usually pretty cynical about pretty much most things, and although in this case that's kind of true, I actually do quite like the New Year as an opportunity to just kind of like, I guess, look back and reflect, and be just a delineation in your life. Like, I can kind of measure my life since, you know, I guess, my life since, like, let's call it, like, 15 or 16 by the year. Like, oh yeah, 2009, that was the start of the channel. 2011, that was when I started doing this. 2012, that's when this Let's Play started. Like, I kind of like the year as a way to define my life from this point. So, you know, it's 2017, and therefore it's an opportunity to reflect over the last year and work out what we're doing this year. And I guess what I'm really saying there is like New Year's resolutions, but in the longest way possible. But you know, I really don't like ever calling them New Year's resolutions, because for most people what a New Year's resolution actually is, by the way, we need some food, so let's just briefly look around for it. For most people, I feel like, I don't know if they know this consciously or if it's just a subconscious thing, but a New Year's resolution is just an opportunity to be like, oh yeah, so there are some things I'd vaguely like to have happen. I don't want to put much effort into them, but it's a new year, so let's do it. You know, new year, new me or something. So they'll, like, you know, as the, you know, time rolls over, they'll be like, oh yeah, it's so this year I want to be more in shape, or I'd like to have more money, or I don't think people say those things. But yeah, basically just they say these things, and then like 2 days later it's like, well, you know, that was a nice pipe dream, but it's over now. For me at least, I like this to be like, okay, if I'm planning this now, I'm gonna get this done. And the cool thing, so okay, this is actually true for anyone, but I've done it in video form. Basically, if you tell your New Year's resolutions, or literally if you tell anyone anything that you say you're going to do, it makes you way more likely to do it. The logic behind it is you can lie to yourself pretty easily. Like, everyone does it all the time, right? Whether you know it or not, you can, like, re-justify it. But it's harder to lie to other people. Or at least, you know, you don't want to lie to other people. I don't want to lie to other people. Like yourself. You probably don't want to lie to other people. Or at the very least, it's harder to lie to them because you have to, you know, you can't just be like, oh yeah, so something this. You have to actually, you know, have, like, a full-on reason of, you know, you can't just say, oh yeah, this fake reason. It has to be something real where they're like, oh, I guess that makes sense. Like, oh yeah, what's the reason that you didn't get more in shape? Well, I guess I got diabetes, Steve. That makes it way better. Whereas if you just say, what's the reason you didn't get in shape? Well, you know, I really make 2018. He's not going to be able to believe that. So yeah, maybe there was some sense in what I just said, or maybe just like, Cat, what are you talking about? But anyway, so yeah, like I said, in this episode, as we talk about the new year in 2017, which I'll try to mention 2017 times, or that's a lot of times, actually. I'll try and say 2017 at least like 10 times. Basically, yeah, and for 2017, while we talk about 2017, I want to work a little bit on the gold farm, because I mined a bunch of obsidian while I was listening to a podcast last night, and also I wanted to work on this giant underground, like, boat superhighway thing. You've probably been seeing a lot of that background gameplay. It's pretty fun. Anyway, so yeah, 2017, the calendar rolled over, and honestly, my favorite thing about that is the fact that now all the jokes about 2016, you know, being the way it was, are now over. Like, one of my least favorite jokes on the internet, and I know I'm being like an old man on this one, like, oh yeah, I don't like it when the kids joke about the year, is like, you know, like, whenever something bad happened at all, and even, it doesn't even have to be bad, it's just something they don't necessarily like, so for instance, you know, like, oh yeah, 2016, that's the reason this celebrity died, so rip, you know, David Bowie or whatever, killed by 2016, it's like, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure it was the heart attack or whatever that killed him. We're like, oh no, now it took, what's her name? The actress from Star Wars, but except she does something else too. Oh no, what a shame, 2016, darn you. And it's like, but that's, you know, that's not bad things happen every year. If they didn't happen in 2016, you know, if all these things happened in 2017, it'd be exactly the same. But yeah, that's weird enough for me. But it gets even worse than that. It's not just like, oh yeah, bad things happened this year, therefore the year is bad. It's like, oh yeah, bad things happened, and things I don't agree with. Like, you know, regardless of, you know, what you think about any of the random democracy stuff, you can at least say like, oh yeah, lots of people did like them. Perhaps a majority of them, or not in one case, but you know, perhaps a majority of people like them, and therefore it's not such a bad thing. But no, that's just bad. That happened because of 2016, and I just hate like the idea of blaming a calendar, or really blaming anything outside of your control for something like that. Like, okay, you know, in my first example, like, you know, yeah, Steve, I got diabetes, therefore I'm not losing weight. That's fine, you know, I guess that's outside your control. But if you say, oh yeah, I didn't lose weight this year because 2016, am I right? Then to me at least, that's like, well, I mean, you're kind of just setting yourself up for failure if 2016, you know, that's all the justification you need to just abandon your goal. Anyway, so that was a bit of a, almost like a downer, but not quite a downer. I guess what the word would be like, the truth, the hard truth that no one wants to really hear. But yeah, basically, instead of just talking about that all the time, I actually want to talk about my specific, not my specific, but like my 2016 resolutions, because I feel like one of the best ways to work out whether you should even bother, setting yourself goals, is to look at your previous ones and be like, how well did we do there? Like, I think this is true for most things, right? Where, like, if you can do something once, the odds of you doing it the second time are a bit higher. If you can't do something once, then maybe you won't do so well the second time. Like, that sounds like it probably. I mean, there's obviously exceptions. There's reasons you should trust people and stuff, but that's kind of the basis of trust and all this other stuff. Anyway, but like I was saying, so I looked at my 2016's resolutions very recently, and by the way, these are on IBX 2Cat, and I guess I might do 2017. Still haven't properly decided. But yeah, so I was looking at them and I was like, I set myself some pretty ambitious goals, but I didn't actually achieve any of them. I only half achieved all of them. But, like, is it still impressive to half achieve a bunch of pretty ambitious goals? Or is that actually pretty bad and that's just like, oh yeah, well, you're a failure to toy cat? I don't know for certain, because, for instance, okay, one of them was to visit, I think it was every country inside the EU. There's 28, it's going to be 27, I think, again. Or maybe it's 29, there's going to be 28 again. There's 28 members in the EU or whatever right now, and my goal was like, oh yeah, let's go to all of them so we can have perspective and all that sort of stuff. And as it turns out, I went to like 18 of them, like 18 or 27, which is still a lot. That's a lot more than most people who set a goal like that do. But I don't know whether you can consider that any form of success, or whether I'm just, just as much of a failure as, Steve who blames his weight loss on, 2016. Is that the case? I don't know for certain. I feel like it's not quite so bad, but it's still not, pretty as perfect as you might otherwise believe. So, that's a thing. I think one of the goals was like, oh yeah, lose some weight, and I think I lost a little bit, tiny little bit. But then it's like, well, but I also think I achieved it in spirit, because like the way it happened was all in good, and I exercised a bunch more. But it is in spirit something that you can count, because if so, then is that really measurable? And I don't know. It kind of always gets down to the same point of like, I don't really know too much at this point. So, give me a second. So I'm going to get back to that in a second. But for now, let me just quickly mention that one of the things I discovered on off video gameplay. So also, I got my Ocelot in the boat. So look, it's a cat and a cat, and we go on adventures together. It's amazing. But yeah, one of the things I also did in some gameplay that you probably saw in a maybe Q&A Saturday, I think, is this little thing right here. This is a really cool, not glitch, but just use of ice, where if you have, like floating ice above nothing, because the boat is very slightly wider than one block, as you're going to see right here, even if most of the boat is above air, as long as there's just a little bit of ice, you can save your ice and just kind of float and go super fast anyway, which is pretty cool to know. So, pro tip right there. I'm going to use this, in fact, for this little underground boatway, just to make it go a little bit further. So, yeah, let's work on that right now, while we talk about my other 2016 things, because I was also like, okay, so there was like, I set like 5 or 6 different goals, and every single one of them is all like partially achieved. And I was thinking about all of them like some amount this year, and I believe I probably did more, because I was like, oh yeah, the 2016 video, or the 2017 video, I get to talk about how great my goals went. But yeah, basically, I guess they're all kind of the same level of like, they wind up at the same point of like, oh yeah, well, I kind of did well, I guess. Like, again, so one of them was like, oh yeah, I enjoyed like the first like proper adult real people dating I did in 2015. And I was like, okay, go for this year, go on more dates and whatnot. But I spent most of this year in the very first set of dates I went on turned into like a fairly serious relationship, and you can't be like, well, on the one hand, a relationship with insert person here, but on the other hand, resolution, better dump him and move on to the next one. I don't know, like I feel like it's better to have done it that way, but is that bad to the New Year's resolution? I don't even know some anymore, so I just kind of go, maybe. I'm not too sure. But actually, just as a tiny little fun fact about this, because like I said, I made that into a video. The person who I was again dated like in a relationship with the first like, I guess most of this year, like actually saw that at first and was like concerned that I was the first person they were dating that year, because they were like, well, you did say you want to do with like several of these, and it's like, isn't that a funny little side note? But anyway, so yeah, all of the goals were kind of like half achieved like that, and I really don't know what to take from like half achieving like ambitious goals. Like, is half doing something really big important, or is that like a good thing, or should you just say that's a failure so that next time like if you don't discipline yourself, then you won't do better next time? I don't know for sure, but that's it for 2016 goals. I'm gonna set myself some, I think, for 2017. I'll hopefully make a IBX 2Cat video, but we'll see for sure at some point soon. Anyway, so it's getting to night, so we're gonna take our cat and cat boat, and we're going to go back to the spawn. And I guess I'll just kind of say that, 2016, as much as everyone else seems to hate it, was probably the best year off, I guess, my life as a whole. Like, so many cool things happened this year. Oh, wait, oh, yeah, one of the other ones I just remembered was like, oh, yeah, let's keep the success going and, like, be more successful this year than last year. And technically, in terms of, like, YouTube and all the other stuff I do, it was significantly more for the year as a whole. But in terms of just right now, like, you know, January 2nd of 2017 versus January 2nd of 2016, like, I think I'm doing very, very slightly worse. And it's like, should you count that? Should you not? But I don't know. Like, should you? Okay, what I'm saying here is, should you look at your own, goals favorably, or should you try and be as hard as you can on yourself and be like, no, Toy Cat, you failed. You only went on dates with one person, not whatever. There was probably like 7 or something. You only went to 18 EU countries. You're not quite as successful as you were this time last year. You're a failure, and do better in 2017. Or should I just say, you're doing pretty well. Life's going pretty swell. Good job, Toy Cat. Keep it up. I don't know. I've never worked out like how you should really beat yourself. So instead, I just kind of shrug and say, who knows? Something maybe. Anyway, so that's the kind of end of that point. Let's talk a little bit about New Year's Eve, because I spoke a bit about Christmas, and a few people kind of enjoyed that, which I thought was cool. So I think, why not explain what I did for New Year's Eve? Because I was in, like, I actually sent a few tweets, and usually I have to, like, delete anything that happens on a night like New Year's Eve, but fortunately, I just, none of them were actually too awful, and so we were just like, what did you do on New Year's Eve, Toy Cat? So I figured, let's very briefly explain, because I'm sure it's a pretty standard story. Also, look at this, see? I'm going above the nothing, but it works just fine. And that's how this whole thing's gonna be, where, like, oh, geez, so, like, most of it's gonna be, like, only one block in the air. Also, the cat is rowing the boat for some reason. Anyway, continuing on. Basically, honestly, I've entirely lost my train of thought because of that one. But yeah, basically, what did I do for 2017, or 2016/2017? So this was the first year for a while that, like, I had a friend that, like, my friends were like, oh yeah, let's all do a thing in London, and because I usually spend it with, like, family and family in terms of, like, my brother and, like, some form of weird party. And one of the things I've always, like, silently judged, and whether that's good or not, I guess you can decide in your own mind, is like, oh yeah, well, if New Year's Eve is kind of meant to be like a night where you spend it with close friends or family, or at least, like, people because again, like, it's just, I've been mentally always judging people, like, but this is like the special night. It's once a year. You can do the stuff with the strangers in the bars or the clubs or whatever any night of the year, but New Year's is like a magical special time or whatever. But no, that's always what I figured. But, like, this night was going to be like a hybrid, so I could, like, properly try and do the whole thing. And as it turns out, so again, you might have caught this from one of the tweets, is very, very poor decisions with drinking went involved, and then it was like a race across London. And it was the coolest thing. Like, again, it probably seemed cooler because it's this really tense timer, and also, again, the previously mentioned alcohol stuff. It's like, oh yeah, so I had to race across London. If you know your London, it's from Croydon, which is, I don't think it's actually technically London, but it's South London basically, all the way to, like, I think it's the city of London, so, like, Canary Wharf sort of area. It was like, race across there, you got 45 minutes to do this 44-minute journey, and also, like, get there for the celebration. And it was the coolest thing because the driver, because, again, call an Uber, because that's how cities work if you want to do it at 11 p.m, somehow didn't get charged, like, a surge fare. Like, it was like 1.1 times, even though it's New Year's Eve, the busiest time for every taxi. Don't know how that happened. The driver's like, it's his last ever journey he's ever doing with Uber. He's like, I'm kind of done with this whole taxi business thing. It's like, okay, well, I guess that's that. So yeah, he's driver's last journey, trying to do this, like, impossible journey in this amount of time. And he's like, yep, we can do that. We'll make it happen. Like, he's going extra fast or whatever, which I don't know if is necessarily a good thing to hear from your driver, but it's what we heard. And we get to the so me and just a friend going to my brother's party. We get to the place, like, literally something like I don't know, like 15 seconds. So, like, we get to the apartment building. We've got 2 minutes. It's like, okay, we have to race up. We've got the codes. Type in the code, and we get onto his balcony where they're counting down, and they're going like 15, 14, 13, and it was the most magical, like, yeah, again, like, retired an Uber driver, did the impossible journey all across London, did all this crazy stuff, and did it with 15 seconds to spare. So that was kind of cool, and in general, it was, like, pretty good. I'd say my overall experience was, I guess, somewhat bad from all the other things, but in general, New Year's Eve, like I said, it's kind of about that whole party experience, and that was that. And in case you're curious as what I mean by, like, kind of bad in general, because this was something that, like, kind of just irked me a little bit in the morning as I realized what happened. It was like, I kind of, like, I think I fell over, like, kind of went to sleep on a bed somewhere at some point, and then got woken up by someone, like, belly rubbing me and just threw up everywhere, and it's like, why would you belly rub someone? Okay, one, I mean, that's a weird thing. I'm realizing, like, out of context belly rubs is probably the most confusing thing to describe the internet. But two, like, even if you assume that that's an okay thing to do to someone, why would you wake someone up that way? In what world is that an acceptable thing to do? But yeah, in general though, pretty good night, and that's what New Year's is all about. And now you know. I don't know if that was a good thing to describe on a video, but now I've done it. So there you go, everyone. So anyway, that said, throw away gravel, pick up stone instead. It's so annoying when you've got full inventory. In fact, let's make some Minecraft New Year's resolutions, right? Like, New Year's resolution. Those 7 projects I said that, there's a video I made, it was like, 7 builds I need to finish. Those 7 projects, let's get, like, at least 5 of those done. Let's make that the resolution. Again, that way it's measurable, we can be like, yeah, I messed up this year. Let's try and, like, keep my inventory 1/3 full at most. Like, actually, wait, half full. So, full inventory, full top bar, everything else should be free space for what I'm working on at that moment, because having stuff like, okay, I guess we'll keep the armor and, like, 3 pickaxes and 2 swords for some reason. This is just, like, it's getting ridiculous, and I'm gonna deal with that, and I'm gonna try and make it a better thing by the end of the year, like, habit that I have an empty inventory. So yeah, those are 2 Minecraft resolutions I just came up with, because I just think that's good thinking in general, right? Oh, also, so the cool thing about this little boat highway is the way I'm gonna do it is have, like, little skylights like this, so I don't have to use any natural lighting, which should be pretty cool at least. But yeah, 2017, going to be amazing. If you thought 2016 sucked because of the calendar, you were wrong. I hate to say it, like, maybe you need to have the crutch to be like, oh yeah, well, it was the calendar, not me. That's fine if that, ignore me, sure, blame it on 2016, blame the calendar. But if you generally thought that, like, this year was bad and, like, that celebrities don't die every year and that, like, democracy doesn't happen every year and, like, this and that, then I don't know what to say. I really don't. Besides, I guess don't look at the news ever again. And in fact, actually, I guess there were a lot of things that were, like, new and unprecedentedly bad this year, particularly when you look at all the specifics and stuff. But again, unprecedented things happens all the time, because a precedent, for anything to happen, it has to have happened before, unless it hasn't happened before, in which case it happens for the first time, which I think that's probably the most confusing but yeah, actually made sense thing I've said in today's video. And in fact, I think that's a good place to end today's video on. Everything happens for the first time, at some time, including episode 275 of the Updated Ventures Let's Play. So I hope you did all enjoy this video. My inventory is full, so I need to go and rearrange that, and I'm sure that'd be like the least entertaining video ever, but it will happen, and this year, we will get 5 builds done, and also, a Merry New Year. Happy New Year. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. Like the video if you liked it, share if you really liked it, and subscribe if you're new around here, because I make videos like this one every single day on my channel, and if you subscribe, you'll see them daily on your homepage. Goodbye.